A hearing today on gun bans. Good morning. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. It's 7:11, and you can chime in live and local, or if you're listening around the state or around the country, 217-629-7970. That's the phone number. So we've been tracking what happens with Illinois House Bill 5855. It's a measure from State Representative Bob Morgan that would ban the future sale of around 100 different semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, and pistols. It would also limit the future sale and outlaw the possession of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. So we've had two different hearings on that. The first hearing at the Illinois State House heard from victims of gun violence and advocates saying that we need a ban on these certain types of weapons. But you also had a second hearing where you heard more about statistics and whatnot, why they support a ban on these weapons. But also at the second hearing, you heard from some opponents to this particular proposal, and some pretty strong points of criticism against it. Everything ranging from it's just purely unconstitutional to it's going to enhance penalties on black and brown communities that are already disproportionately policed, advocates say. So interesting to hear this, and we'll hear more, I imagine, especially with Illinois State Police set to testify at the committee today. But what about other law enforcement? Where do they stand on this? We'll get to some of that coming up. But of course, your phone calls always welcome at 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're up.
This is the way for the liberal Democrats to get more power over the American people. You disarm them, they'll be able to get away with whatever they want. It isn't about hunting. It isn't about anything else, but it's against the right to bear arms is about keeping our government in line.
Yeah, the clause in the Second Amendment is for the security of a free state. It does not say a free state from deer, a state free of vermin, a state free of clay pigeons. No, it's for the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
The founding fathers all said it. I mean, this is what we're putting this on the Constitution to keep people like us from getting grabbing too much power and lording over the American people like they did in Europe, with the royalty and the elites.
Yeah, and our founding fathers, some of the documentation you can see from the historical writings seem to indicate that they did not like the idea of centralized standing armies, which is what they fought against with the Revolution in 1776, declaring independence. But the Second Amendment was added to the U.S. Constitution as a way to, bolster the rights that individuals have in this country. But appreciate the call, and you can always call in live and local at 217-629-7970. So we've got another hearing today in the Illinois House, and we'll be monitoring that and bringing you highlights from that hearing today at 10 o'clock. You can watch along if you want at ilga.gov. Just click on the House audio video section, and you'll be able to watch that. Now, we've also been tracking some of the witness slips from these hearings, and it's fascinating to see just how these witness slips are starting to stack up. And in particular, you've got witness slips for this hearing, similar to what we've seen in other hearings. And the total number of witness slips in opposition are more than double the total number of witness slips for those who support the proposed gun ban. But what about law enforcement? Where do they stand on this? Because, listen, I mean, law enforcement, they're going to have to enforce this law if it does get put into effect. And the law says that, violations could range from a Class A misdemeanor to a Class 2 felony. That includes people who have firearms that are grandfathered in who don't actually register those with state police within 300 days and pay a $25 fee. But also, this measure, it exempts law enforcement, jailers, members of armed services, security officers. They're exempt except for while they're in their official duties or coming back and from work. And that's got some raising questions as to this particular measure and if that goes far enough for law enforcement. So let's take a look at what the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police have to say about this, because they did recently just post that they oppose House Bill 585, the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. They say that the association opposes House Bill 5855, known as the Protect Illinois Communities Act. Gun violence affects our communities as well as our Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police members and their officers. While the association supports measures that will be effective in reducing gun violence, we have many concerns surrounding the bill. The Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police is specifically concerned about the areas that may negatively impact the ability for law enforcement to keep their communities safe, including restrictions on active peace officers and the lack of exemptions for retired law enforcement officers, and the negative impact it could potentially have on law enforcement operations and public safety. So, some of the other things that I highlighted there about the exemptions, saying that, law enforcement, military, jailers, security officers, they would be exempt while officially performing their duties or going from work to home. But it doesn't explicitly say that they're allowed to have these firearms in their home. So that's just one particular concern that may come up. But that's the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. If they refine that language in the proposal to say that law enforcement can have guns at home, will the association lift their opposition? That's an interesting question, but it really begs the question of, what about individual citizens and their ability to protect themselves? Now, the supporters of the bill, they claim that they don't want to take all guns away from people. They just want to prohibit individuals from having what they call assault weapons, though a lot of gun owners recognize those as just semi-automatic weapons, not an assault weapon. But interesting to see some of the other sentiments that are out there. And somebody shared with me a gun owner's message to the law enforcement community. And this was written by somebody anonymously, and it deals with various issues of gun control. So this was, again, a publication back in 2019, December of 2019. It says, law-abiding American gun owners stand with law enforcement, and American law enforcement must stand with us. The publication goes on saying, elitist politicians across the country are advancing draconian national, state, and local gun control schemes that will do nothing to deter criminals' activity and will only undermine honest Americans' natural right and responsibility to protect their own safety and security. Participating in Second Amendment marches and rallies, calling and emailing legislators, writing letters to the editor, and engaging in social media discussions are all worthy pursuits, but according to some studies, only 30 to 40% of households have firearms. Gun owners are a minority in the modern America, and we need a new strategy to defeat bad policy and defend the Second Amendment civil liberties. Responsible gun owners are also law enforcement's strongest support, and we, in turn, need and deserve law enforcement's public support of our interests. We need law enforcement to stand with us. So you can kind of see the sentiment there of ensuring that you've got support for upholding civil rights in the Second Amendment space. And with the Illinois State Police being a agency that's directed by somebody who is appointed by Governor J.B. Pritzker, you can imagine that they're going to come out today in the hearing that happens at 10 o'clock, which, again, we'll monitor and bring you the latest for tomorrow. But the Illinois State Police are going to have to manage a database of gun registration, and I'm sure that they're also going to get a whole bunch of questions about why Illinois State Police didn't block the suspected Highland Park shooter from getting a firearm, and why law-abiding gun owners should be punished for that action of what some have called psychopaths. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hey, good morning, Greg. Hey, they say you're going to have to register within 300 days your semi-automatic weapon with the state police. Well, me personally, I would be hesitant to do that, and the reason is because, okay, now they have a complete record, your address, what you have. Now we're going to pass a new gun bill that you're going to have to turn them weapons in, and they know exactly who has them and who doesn't. So as far as me, I'll say it out loud on the air. I'm not registering anything with the state police, and I've never been convicted of a crime. I'm not a felon. I'm not, but people's going to be hesitant to do that because what's next? You know, they're going to come and take them. I don't know. You know?
Well, and the issue also of I don't want you to out yourself necessarily, but how many magazines that hold more than 10 rounds do you have? Right? Because that's that's.
I mean, what are you going to register a 30-round mag? I mean,
and that's not in the law. But that's not spelled out in the law. I don't see anything grandfathering people in who have these magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, which is pretty standard for a lot of semi-automatic pistols that hold 14 rounds. But some people also have, 2, 3, 4, if not more, 15-round magazines for their AR-15 or even 30-round magazines for their AR-15. So what happens with all of those and potentially tens of millions of those items out there in the hands of potentially 2 million Illinoisans? Are they all of a sudden going to be turned into felons overnight? This is a question that we'll likely hear a lot more about whenever they get back to debating this issue. I appreciate the calls. Got to take a break. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Find me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Spread the word. It is WMA.